So good morning, everybody. Good to see you this morning. Today, we're going to be kicking off the work that we have been talking about since last January, the UNCF and Talladega College Career Pathways Initiative, which is our Liberal Arts Innovation Center for Education here at Talladega College. The first thing I would like to do is introduce myself, and then I will introduce my colleagues who are participating in this endeavor. The folks who are on this Zoom call are colleagues and friends, and we teach together, and we are the core team for this Liberal Arts Innovation Center. And to define the core team will be easy for us because we have gotten together and decided that we want to really take a close look at how we are instructing students in the education department. And we really drilled down and looked at some techniques that are proven in the research to engage and retain students. And all of us have been under study and thinking about this. Dr. Robinson and I started together in 2015, and she and I have been working on active learning strategies since that time, but this is the first opportunity that we will have to study as a team and as a group active learning as a tool and a method for retaining students and to expand the students' ability to pass some of the standardized tests that are in the program that we deliver every day here in Andrews Hall. So I would like to pass the opportunity over, and we will just go through the team. I am Rebecca McKay. I am the Dean of the School of Social Sciences and Education, and I am a teacher here in the Education Department. Dr. Bridgewater?
Hello, I'm Dr. Michelle Bridgewater. I am the Special Education Professor here at Talladega College. It is my pleasure to be with everyone today.
Thank you. Dr. Clinton?
Good morning, I'm Dr. Yolanda Clinton. I am the Elementary Ed Specialist here at Talladega College, and I am thrilled and excited to be a part of this fantastic group and endeavor.
Thank you, Dr. Clinton. Dr. Rebecca Robinson is our chair. Dr. Robinson.
I'm Rebecca Robinson. I am privileged to be the chair of this department. And Dr. McKay and I have been doing this work a bit informally for about 6 years, and this is our opportunity to make it formal. So we're excited about that and looking forward to the days ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. So one of the things that I had the opportunity to do several years ago, way back in my history, is to think about how change happens in organizations. And I know that all of my colleagues who are on this call have been involved in school renewal projects. Most of us had an opportunity to be a part of the Alabama Reading Initiative, and we know that professional learning is a critical part of that. But the decision to actually do professional learning and what to do lies and rests within the team of people who really do want to renew their practice and really change what is happening. So I want to share my screen today, and I want to talk to you just a little bit about what we have done and the way that we're going about the work together, so you can follow our process and really get an idea of how you might try some of these techniques, and you might use these techniques in your own schools and in your own work. One of the main things that I learned, I've been doing professional learning for a long, long time, and really working with teams of people as a reading specialist to really decide what it is that we want to do when we are making decisions about instruction. And I'm going to share the screen and show you an example of a model of how we are thinking that we're going to actually go about the work. And the first thing that we had to decide is, what are we going to do and why are we doing it? And many of you may actually have similar goals in education departments, particularly if you are having students who are taking standardized achievement tests. And so we really aspire to really focus on the school mission and vision statement, which is critical to what we want to do. And one of the goals that we have here is to retain our students and to expand our students' professional development and learning. And we also aspire to have more students who are going through the full 4 years, able to pass the exams, and then to actually get a job out in the field. We know that in the world of schooling, there's a great call and a great need for students, all kinds of students who need to be out there going back to their home communities doing good work. In our department, we're a small department. We have about 100 education students, and we decided that we really wanted to focus on active learning as one of our strategies. And for about, as Dr. Robinson mentioned, about 5 years, she and I have been working on a process called lesson study. And the lesson study process is an easy innovation, but it seems almost too easy. But the question remains, we're all busy. We do have 100 students. I serve in multiple roles. And we have to think about what we could do that would have the smallest thing that we might do that might make the greatest difference. So we aspire to share with you our journey on a process that we have been practicing here for several years called lesson study. And one of the adult learning experiences that we want to do is to really give you an opportunity to attend some of our lesson studies. We will be doing these lesson studies twice a year. I will be doing the first one in November. Dr. Robinson will do the second, then Dr. Bridgewater, and then Dr. Clinton. And as we're doing that, we're studying and we're using tools and techniques in our classrooms every day. We're doing a deep study in an online course on active learning. And we will aspire to share all of that with you as we progress in this journey. And we also will provide video under what does it look like, and actually let you be a part of live stream lesson studies if you so choose to do so. We will also have video of these for you to use with your team members and your faculty members if you want to tap into the research that we're doing here at Talladega College. And then last but not least is a reflection and a planning opportunity that we have. And we have chosen an outside team of people that we call our group of folks who will be supporting our study. This group is our external leadership team. And on the external leadership team, we have numerous people who will be collecting data as we progress in our lesson study. Caitlin Cox is our program manager. Rhonda Sutton will be our knowledgeable other. She will serve in the role of giving us a close feedback on the content that we're teaching, as well as keeping an eye on how we're disseminating information to you about what is happening in our classrooms and during our lesson studies. Dr. Alicia Curry will be serving in the role of participant observer. And Dr. Curry is from Stillman, a sister HBCU college, and she has actually done work with us before, and she will be collecting all of the data and putting the data together and writing reports on what she sees that we are doing. And I will be the lead person on the study group. We have invited 20 of our colleagues at the college who would like to learn more about active learning, and we will be collecting data with this leadership team to disseminate to you and to UNCF, who is our partner in this endeavor. And we are delighted to have their support financially as well as emotionally. We have wonderful support from them. And we, again, actually have based this and ground this in the research in professional learning and professional development. And we aspire to continue to ask ourselves these questions. What are we doing? What does it actually feel like when we're doing this work as a team of 4 people? We want to make our department really, really strong, and we want our students to be successful. What does it look like when this happens? About 4 times a year, we do lesson studies here at the college campus, and we've been doing it since 2015. I joined the faculty here in 2015. And many of you may know a little bit about lesson study, and we want to share with you today what we have been doing. We have taken on a study. We're reading a book, and this is our first study group on this book. And the book is called Lesson Study, Using Classroom Inquiry to Improve Teaching and Learning in Higher Ed. This is actually the only book that I know about. I'm not saying it's the only one, but I do know a good bit about lesson study. It's the only thing that I have been able to find that has been compiled by college professors and college faculty. Bill Serbin is actually the author of this book, and we will be talking today from this book. So I'll open the conversation today. I really looked and marked my book. I really just did like the first part of the book. And if my team members have their books, if you could turn to page 3, I wanted to just share something that I felt like really resonated with me. When you think about that little quote that I said, what is the simplest thing that we could do that might make the most difference? Of course, lesson study always pops into my mind because it is critical that we really attend to what we do every day in our college classrooms. And in this book, Bill, the quote that really stood out with me that I really want to bring to the group today is from a worker, a researcher, her name is Catherine Lewis. And Catherine really kind of nails the idea. She says, lesson study is a simple idea. If you want to improve instruction, what could be more obvious than collaborating with fellow teachers to plan, observe, and reflect on a lesson? And of course, we know, those of us who have taught for years know that the lesson is the place where our dreams and instructional goals come to life, and it's where we interact with our students every day. One of the things that really resonated with me about looking at the place where we interact with students really holds true, particularly for HBCU students in the research. There's a good bit of mention about relationships being really, really critical in the work that we do here at Talladega College, as well as across the nation's HBCUs. And we really aspire to really look at our students closely during these lessons, to really think about how we're saying things, how we are having them interact. Are we being active in our classrooms? Are the students doing more of the talk than the professor? And we really aspire to videotape our lessons and dissect those lessons as a research technique. And the first chapter is just full of good information from Bill's book, but that's just how today I wanted to bring that to the group, and would entertain any conversation from the group who would like to expand on that. And then we will move into our colleagues thinking about the pieces in the book that really resonated with them that they would like to bring to the group. So if anyone would like to comment on what I feel like I have gotten out of this that is so powerful, I'm opening the floor now to anyone who would like to respond. Don't forget to unmute.
I'm
Go ahead, Dr. Robinson.
trying to unmute.
You are-
We can hear you, Becky.
Okay, I'm unmuted then. Okay. I was just going to say that it's such well, it's not, I don't want to use the word easy. You've used the word simple, but I've been an educator for a lot of years, and when I first was introduced to lesson study, it was like I had an aha moment. I thought, well, why hadn't we been doing this before now? So I think that the simplicity of it makes it so much more doable.
And one of the things, Dr. Robinson, when we wrote the grant, they asked us what would be the obstacles. And of course, you and I looked at each other and we laughed and we said time, because, you know, as college professors, many people have the concept in their head that, you know, we really have a lot of time. But in fact, in a small school, we wear many hats. And I think that is true also with my public school experience, is that time is a premium. And once we get into this as a team, we have chosen to make a simple pattern of how we will do our lesson studies. And it will be a pattern that we will follow every time we do a lesson. So I also think, in Dr. Robinson, that one of the selling points of lesson study is that the lesson study process in and of itself is pretty simple. You plan a lesson, you set your learning goals, you really look carefully to make sure that they're aligned with the college and the college's mission and vision statement. Then you actually go in and you teach, observe, and you gather data. You analyze the evidence, and you can revise the lesson and reteach the lesson if you so desire. And then you repeat the cycle. And the beauty in this is we're also a living example to the young teachers who are going to be going out into the world. It teaches a way to think about how you say things in class and how you frame your thoughts and your ideas to the students. And it's just a living example of their response to you and what your goals are and how you are trying to lead and guide them through reflection. Would someone else like to respond to what has been said thus far? And then we'll move on to someone else. Dr. Bridgewater, I think you were on. You came on.
Yes, I did. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
I was just going back to Catherine Lewis's statement, which I think really sums up lesson study. And I was especially struck by the part that says, reflect on lessons. And I think that's what this is all about. Determining what your needs are and then reflecting on it and then putting your plan into action. How can you best meet the needs of students with what you're trying to teach? And you do that by reflecting on what you want them to know. It's kind of like that, what we do, the KWL, what you know, what you want to know and what you want to learn. It's kind of like taking that concept and really reflecting on it deeply in order to be able to put it into action. And the portion that I have talks about finding your focus. And the best way I think to find your focus is to really do a deep reflection.
Thank you so much. Would anyone else like to respond before we move on to our next topic?
I would just like to extend or expound on Dr. Bridgewater. When we talk about reflection, I've been teaching critical thinking skills in my course. And when you reflect on what you've taught your students, but at the same time, you allow your students to reflect. And when they can reflect, it really does help them to develop those critical thinking skills that reaches the depth of knowledge, you know, that we are really wanting our students to reach. now. So that's all I would like to add to that.
See how much fun we can have, because I've been working on that too. And I know that Dr. Robinson has been touching on it. And it is amazing that we sit in offices next door to each other. And because the department is small and the building here is wonderful, we actually can hear each other. But I had no idea that the two of you were actually doing the same kinds of things that I'm doing. So I'm excited about forming a lesson study team with you guys so that we can really bring our curriculum together in a way that maybe we hadn't really thought about before. We know that, you know, we're all teaching the state standards, and we've worked on that. We've been through a reaccreditation process. So I think we might kind of be primed to really tap into each other's thinking and really be aware of how our program overlap and interlace in the different courses that we teach. And we know that because we just finished doing our course descriptions and reworking the content for our courses. So thank you both for those comments. Now I'll open the floor. We've all taken a part of Bill Serban's text, and we've all read the text, but we all took the responsibility to kind of give an overview of some of the parts that we felt like were the most critical for a group of people who might aspire to do lesson study and to really think about lesson study as a technique in order to change and to make the work that we do better. So I'm going to take off the screen share now, and we will go to full screen mode. Thank you. Well, I'll just open the floor to anyone who would like to share something from what they read that you feel like is critical for our colleagues out in the world that they might need to know on the process of lesson study.
Okay, I had chapter 2, which is an overview of the process. And of course, the first phase is finding a focus. Well, we have a predetermined topic because of the fact that we wrote the UNCF grant, so that we have our topics. So I think that the focus of what we're all going to teach has been predetermined. So I kind of skipped to where we get to planning the lesson, because I know I've got to start planning my lesson for January. But this resonated with me because I'm teaching an assessment class right now, and it seems unnatural to me because I wasn't taught this way. But we need to really consider thinking about the backward design. What are we going to assess? What do we want the students to get out of the lesson? And then going backward to plan the lesson. So I'm going to try to practice what I preach in my assessment class when I plan my lesson. And I'm going to try to work on that, so that hit home for me. Also, one thing that I know Dr. McKay has them do that hit home for me, and that's script the lesson. Now, you better believe I'm going to have this lesson scripted when I get ready to get in front of that video camera. I don't always script my lessons, but I teach the students to, if they're not going to script it the way Dr. McKay has them do it, I tell them to cut and paste from the lesson plan. So I've demonstrated how you can cut up your lesson plan and make it be a one-pager. So that kind of hit home to me also. And then, of course, the actual planning is phase 3, and phase 4 is to teach the lesson, observe, and gather evidence. And 5, debrief. Now, the students, when we have done this in the past and really had a true debrief right after the lesson, lots of times we can't do it right then. But when we do it right then, the students really get involved. and our students, I mean our college students, and they can really say some powerful things about the lesson. I can testify to that from experience when we have been able to do it right there on the spot in another room in the school. So I'm excited about doing the debrief. That's a part for me that I was always interested in, because it seems like once you teach the lesson, you're done. You know, that's real life. I go teach the assessment class at 10 o'clock. I'm done. I don't go back for that part of the lesson. So that's a quick review of chapter 2.
So I would say also, Dr. Robinson allowed me to work in her school when I did professional learning with a nonprofit, and she opened up her building, and she and I have been doing lesson study. I don't know, we've been doing it for a long time. And when we came to Talladega College, we began to really think about the power in what we had observed through those conversations after the lesson is over. And so we have learned some very interesting techniques for those of you who are college professors and who aspire to deepen your students' use of the language of the research and the theory. And of course, those of us in Alabama who are actually having a consequential EdTPA portfolio assessment, we know that our students have to be able to cite the research. And we are finding that our students are really becoming quite adept at that because we have made it a part of what we do. And so I think that the lesson study process and the reflection on the lessons that are done at the college here, some lessons are taught by professors, some lessons are taught in departments. We've had a tuba lesson by one of our musicians. We have had numerous lessons. We actually did 6 student-taught lessons in an elementary school here that is near us at Graham Elementary. So our students, a big payoff, I think, from the lesson study as a process is that the students are willing now to go public with a lesson that they write. It's very calming to them to have the security of their colleagues in the classroom observing and giving them feedback. So we are aspiring to really spread this to the students here at the college. We do several other techniques. We do public research lessons. Dr. Robinson and I have done something really fun. We did a teach-off one week, and she taught, it was like a dueling set of lessons. She taught a lesson and then I taught one. And so the students really get the idea when they're exposed to this kind of reflection that teaching is really best when it goes public. And so we would share that with you as a reflection over, you know, the years that she and I have worked together. And we feel that it puts our students at ease when they know that they're going to have to videotape themselves. So this opportunity with UNCF and Talladega College, the Career Pathways Initiative, and this Liberal Arts Innovation Center in our education department is really going to be a piece of work that we feel like will really benefit our students, not just in the short term, but in the long term throughout their career. So I will, Dr. Robinson, was there anything else, or did anyone else want to make a comment on Dr. Robinson's chapter 2? One thing I would add about this book is really a good book. It has interesting pieces of work in it, and it's really kind of a how-to. So if you feel a little nervous about starting the lesson study process, one of the first things they talk about is forming effective teams. And all of us chose to work here at Talladega College, and we really aspire to be a team. And one of the most important things that we feel that we have done is to actually go through the process of reaccreditation And we are very excited about the possibility of teaching lessons and reflecting on those lessons together with our students. Who would share something else in your study of this book that you think is really critical for the work that we're going to do together?
If I can remember to unmute myself, I would like to go ahead and share information concerning my chapter, which is chapter 2. But I want to give you a little background on myself, because I think my background will show you how you can come together and learn about lesson study. I have been a person who developed a preschool program for children with disabilities, ages 3 through 8. I have worked with children in the K-12 setting from ages 3 to 12. I have worked in higher education with graduate students while graduate studies in educational leadership, and I did that for almost 10 years. So coming to Talladega is like coming full circle, because now I'm working with undergraduates. Undergraduates are different. All students at every level where I've had the opportunity to work are different. Now, as you know, my main background is special ed. So when you think about special ed, you think about working with students one-on-one and in small groups. This is different. So I, in my first year at Talladega in 2019, became introduced to public research lessons immediately. So, and that was my getting my feet wet, getting a chance to share expertise and knowledge with the community, because when we do our summits, the community is involved just like our students are involved. So it's full exposure. Now, what I like about my chapter on lesson study is the fact that it really focuses you on, the purpose of lesson study is to really look at the weaknesses, whatever weaknesses you may have in your program, or whatever weaknesses you may be able to pick up and perceive on your students. That's the whole point about it. And that's what we're all about. We're all about how do we improve our students' performance. And lesson study is a very good way to do that. One of the things that I really like is the fact that it talks about lesson goals. But when we're talking about lesson goals, what are the reasons for those goals? So what I'd like to do with you now is to share the reasoning behind our goals. Well-defined goals communicate expectations to students, assisting them with where they need to focus their efforts. Reason number 2, learning goals are the backbone of the lesson in that they provide a clear focus on the lesson design, what experiences will support, and assist students with reaching their desired outcomes and also our desired outcomes. Learning goals provide a blueprint of the types of learning and thinking you expect to see in a classroom. So if we can focus our students on at least understanding what are the goals of this and what's the reasoning behind our goals. Now, I've learned in my life working with adult learners, they have to understand the why. And I think that when we present the why with this, we are telling them what the reasoning is, which is not that this is what Dr. Bridgewater is saying, this is not what Dr. Clinton is saying, this is not what Dr. Robinson is saying or Dr. McKay. This is what the research says. And one of the things we also do here at Talladega College is we focus on the theorists. We focus them on understanding that it's not just what we're saying, but it's the research that's already out there. Now, one of the researchers that appeared in my chapter was Schulman, 2002, and it's a taxonomy, and it talks about making differences. And one of the things he did was he developed a taxonomy table of educational objectives. So this is what I'm going to go over with you very briefly to give you an idea of what those taxonomies look like according to Schulman.
Can you point us to the page in the book, Dr. Bridgewater? Is it chapter 3?
It's chapter 3.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call you out. Let me see if I can find it.
Okay, it's chapter 3, and you'll see it. Page 33.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much.
I'm trying to make sure now that I said that.
That's it. You've got it.
Page 33. Well, when we look at the making differences, and that's what the chapter is about. He talks about knowledge. Of course, we know that knowledge is memory of previous material. All right. Secondly, he talks about comprehension. And it's important that when we're working with our students that they understand what we are presenting to them. Third, application. Now, we know if they have knowledge and if they have comprehension, then they're able to demonstrate their knowledge by using what they've learned. Then we have analysis. There comes a time, even though you are able to apply the process, but you need to do a deeper dive, as Dr. McKay says, and be able to analyze the information and examine the breakthrough information into parts. Synthesis. Students really need to look at the steps that they've taken already, the information that they've reviewed already, and they then need to look at compiling information in a different way, using previous memory, making connections. That's what they're doing there. All right, then we have evaluation. Evaluation is presenting and defending opinions. If they take a position, they need to be sure of whatever position they've taken based on the research that they've done and based on the information they've learned from theorists. If they cannot defend their position, then we've missed a step there somewhere. Something's missing. Engagements and motivation. They must be involved. And earlier you heard my colleague speak about active engagement. We strive to have active engagement here. And that's where this comes into play. If we have them actively engaged, then they're going to be more motivated because they're involved. They're helping with some of the decision making that's going on. Knowledge and understanding, again, being able to recall and restate information, and that goes back to knowledge, which was the first step. Okay, performance action. Again, what does that reflect back to? Because everything is full circle. If they can give us performance knowledge, then that means that they're able to apply the information. So see how we have many circles. We're kind of going in a nice circular effect as we're working with students, as they're building on the previous steps, the first 3 or 4 steps, and becoming more involved as they give information as we get to the more, as Dr. Clinton would say, higher level thinking. Okay, then we have performance action, which is using your knowledge, reflection and critique, using criteria to evaluate, judgment and design, making decisions, and commitment and identity is how they internalize these values. I thought that was the most significant part of my chapter because, as you see, we like diagrams. We like to know what steps we're going in. And we start out with those steps from Schulman, going from the simple to the more complex, higher order thinking skills. And I think that's what we want to do with lesson study. Once you are looking at what your topic is going to be, then this is a way to kind of build on what you want the topic to be and what you want it to look like when you're presenting it to students. Thank you.
You know, Dr. Bridgewater, as you were speaking, it occurred to me that this is going to probably benefit our students as much or more as it benefits us. As we spoke about, you know, really talking about the theorists and really bringing those theorists to life. I think it's going to be interesting in the videotapes of our lessons for us to watch carefully the notes and the notation that students make in the alluding to the theories that they have learned. I know you're going to be teaching human growth and development in the spring, and I have taught that course for well, since I've been here. And it will be fun for us to see how they take the things that you teach in human growth and development and the things that I have taught, and then also the educational psychology class that is taught, as well as we've got Dr. Robinson teaches the assessment class, and Dr. Clinton is teaching the technology class. So we can kind of make note of how our students utilize the language, the academic language that they're learning in the classroom, in our classrooms, and hopefully that will carry over into the work that they do when they do their consequential portfolio assessment in EdTPA, because they do have to weave the research and the theory into their reflection that they will be writing for that portfolio. Is there anything else that anyone else would like to add or respond to Dr. Bridgewater? I love the taxonomy, Dr. Bridgewater. We might have to make us a chart of this and share it the next time we do our study group with our colleagues out in the world of the Innovation Center. And I think it's powerful. Schulman, I had known of the work, but I haven't revisited it in a while. But I did note it as one of the things that I really felt like was powerful when I read the book. And I've read this book before, but I have to go back and reread. But thank you for bringing that out to the group. Any other responses to that information that was brought to us by Dr. Bridgewater?
I don't know if anyone had anything to add to Dr. Bridgewater. However, I'll just kind of continue.
Okay.
Dr. Robinson spoke about focusing and planning, and then Dr. Bridgewater came back with setting goals. And so I got to the part where designing and planning their lesson. So there was a quote in mine, and I really liked it. I'll read it. To be a teacher does not mean simply to affirm that such a thing is so, or to deliver a lecture. No, to be a teacher in the right sense is to be a learner. Instruction begins when you, the teacher, learn from the learner. Put yourself in his place so that you may understand what he understands and the way he understands it. Kierkegaard, The Point of View for My Work as an Author, 1848. We can't learn unless we know how our students are learning and how they perceive what we are teaching them. And I didn't really I thought I got that as an elementary teacher, but even so, I thought I got it my first 2 semesters here, but about a week ago, and then after I read this, I was like, aha, it was that aha moment where my students were saying, well, I just don't know why we're learning this or what we're doing, why we're doing this. And so when I read this, it like hit me in the face. I wasn't, even though I thought I was, but I really was not putting myself in their place to see how they were perceiving and understanding and learning what it was I thought they should learn. So this really resonated with me, and it is still resonating with me. It's like getting really deep down in my soul, and something that I will impart to my students when we meet again. But so it started with what is a lesson, and we all know what we thought a lesson or we think a lesson is. But it says that the term lesson is often thought of as a teaching and a learning episode that takes place in a single class period. Well, we know lessons are long, they are extended, okay, not just in a single class period. However, but a lesson is not defined by a segment of time. It has a point, a learning goal that instructional activities are organized in sequence to achieve. In this sense, a lesson can be viewed as a conceptual unit of teaching, the lesson study, okay? A lesson produced in a lesson study is called a research study, a research lesson or study lesson. This terminology emphasizes that the lesson is developed for the purpose of study and not simply as a regular class lesson, okay? You design the lesson with your students in mind. Again, backward design, the goal, the plan. Talked about a first-year college instructor who thought their purpose was to just impart information, just get through the material. That's all we need to do, get through the material. I finished this 800-page book, we're good.
That's my forced march analogy through the 800-page book. Thank you, Dr. Clinton.
Yes, I got that. I remembered you. And so that's how he planned his class. Then he thought about, he said, like many inexperienced teachers, I was most concerned about covering the subject matter. But subject matter is important, and for that reason, we want to make sure that students learn it. But if we truly want students to understand and learn the subject matter, we must become more mindful of the way that instruction supports or impedes student learning. The lesson design process is an opportunity to think about various ways to teach a topic and speculate about how these may affect student learning. And then it talks about factors that influence our choices when we organize and plan our classes. Some of the factors are the mode of instruction. How are we going to instruct? Or we're going to lecture, discuss, use technology, PBL. How are we going to do that? Disciplinary preferences for specific modes of instruction. What's already been done? What research is out there, okay? Situational factors, the level of the course. Are they freshmen? Are they sophomores? Are they ready to student teach? Where are they in the course, or what, I guess not in the course, but in their level of knowledge, okay, of development. And then instructors' familiarity with different modes of teaching. A lot of college instructors, they have subject matter, but sometimes they don't have various strategies or instructional practices that they can use, okay? So we need to become more familiar with more of those methods and techniques. Instructors' knowledge of student learning. Instructors' general and specific understanding of how students learn affects their day-to-day instruction. Everything goes right back to the student when you talk about a lesson study. And then it compared two versions. I'm not going to go through this at length, but a standard lesson approach, lecture approach, and then the lesson study approach where you take the student learning into account. I'll talk about two. In the standard lecture approach, the instructor gives a preview of the lecture, the goals, major themes, concepts, ideas. This is what we're going to do and learn, okay? But in the other, the instructor assesses the student's prior knowledge first of the topic and uses information to plan the lesson. Prior knowledge goes right back to the taxonomy chart that Dr. Bridgewater used. And then so it went on to talk about the 5 significant features of designing the design process. 1, collaborative design. When we're designing and planning the lesson, the collaborative design, where teachers come together, they're jointly designing lessons to reach their students, okay? Backward design, we've spoken about that several times. Making student thinking visible. Cognitive empathy, again, how does the student see that lesson that you are teaching? Can they understand it? is it where they can understand it? And lastly, identifying how the instructional activities affect the student learning. Or what kind of activities are you going to use? Small group, individual? How's it going to affect student learning? And then you prepare for your class. Put it all together. That's what I got out of it.
So thank you so much, Dr. Clinton. And one of the things that we will be doing in the lesson study work here at the college is we will be planning the lessons together. You will get to watch us in that process. And Dr. Robinson mentioned that the topic for each one of us in the area of the work that we specialize in will be around the ethics of the work. I will be doing the first lesson study, and I will be leading my students in a talk and conversation about the ethics of teaching reading. And it should be very interesting. We will aspire to teach that lesson probably mid-November, maybe a second week in November. So stay tuned, and I think you'll enjoy seeing how we plan the lesson together, and then how we will, one of us will deliver the lesson while a team of our colleagues actually support us and give us feedback. During that time, we'll have our knowledgeable other who will be facilitating the lesson study, and we will have our participant observer who will actually be collecting all of the data. And you will have also access to the video of the lesson study, and you can be a part of that lesson study during the actual day that we do it. We plan on live streaming that lesson, so you can watch it live or you can watch it via video. So I like the way that this is playing out. As you can see, we had all read the book, but each one of us said that we would go a little bit deeper in what really resonated with us in certain chapters. So that was helpful. Would other people respond or like to respond to Dr. Clinton and some of the things that she brought to us, to the team? Dr. Bridgewater, unmute. Dr. Bridgewater, unmute. Unmute.
Of course, now that I'm unmuted, I probably lost my train of thought.
It's all good.
But what I wanted to say is, as I've listened to each person, starting with you, Dr. McKay, with the first chapter, everything is so related. It's like a step by step. It's like a how-to to get this across. But like I said, one of the things I like about it is everything is supported. Everything is supported. Every step is supported by the research that's out there. And I think with our students, you got to be able to show them that this is how it's supposed to be done, and this is based on research. And I think that will have them have more buy-in as we go about doing these lesson studies. That's all I wanted to add.
Thank you. And this is study group a la COVID. So we are loving, getting tickled about not unmuting, but I'm really enjoying the discussion. And frankly, I really was concerned about doing a book discussion via Zoom. But I think it's all good, because everyone who will eventually hopefully have access to this Zoom video will know that we just keep right on, COVID or not, we're going to social distance. And we decided, instead of being in a room, our rooms here are very small, that we would try to run this study group by Zoom. And it also is doubly powerful because we can really collect the data from this and actually make it available to all of our colleagues who want to be a part of our Liberal Arts Innovation Center on Education here at Talladega College. So would anyone else now respond or like to have feedback to Dr. Clinton and to what she has brought to us today? Well, we have been going for about an hour, and that is about the extent of what we feel like is a reasonable amount of time to conduct our book study. And we hope to see you again soon as we reflect on how today's book study went and dig deeper into the text and actually begin to look at more of the appendices, and you will be learning more along with us as we're doing our book study. Part of an important thing that I have learned is anytime you want to do lesson study or a process or an innovation for change, it involves deep study in the innovation that you are trying to implement. So we look forward to sharing more of Bill's book with those of you who are going on this journey with us. Does anyone else have anything to add to the group before we say farewell and say our goodbyes for the day? Thank you all so much, and we look forward to sharing this with you soon on our website. Have a good afternoon.